This is the network service of the NTA.
Like the road you are walking on, start paving another. Popular quote by our sonorous Dolly Parton, the quintessential. My guest today on Prime Woman is one such beautiful lady who saw a need, didn't like the road she was walking on, and chose to thread other roads to get to her destination. She saw needs to be met and didn't wait for no one to say go. She took that chance. Solved not just one need, 2 needs, no, 3, no, several needs. Let's get to find out who this. Welcome to Prime Woman. Thank you so very much for gracing our studios. Of course, one of my colleagues, as a matter of fact, my supervisor, hi, Miss Lizzie, the Queen, would say to her guest, I am in your house, but it is my studio. So this is my studio. I'm taking a leave from my boss.
Good to be here.
We have seen your very elite and rich profile. How did Fumilola Bello rise to become the chief executive of Opulent Ceramics today?
When there is a need, there has to be a supply. For me, it wasn't out of my own need. In Unilorin, there were no people living on campus and doing business on campus because it was a permanent site. So they had to always live at the close of the school hour and go back home. So the hostel brothers find it difficult to eat when it's late. And I saw that need. I was part of those people that actually needed to eat. And I felt like somebody should do this. And I don't just look out to people to do something. It starts with me.
Awesome. One of Nigeria's slogans says, change starts with me.
That's true. That's true.
Who was Fumilola before being Fumilola Bello? Where did she come from?
I actually find it difficult to express who I was then because I just saw somebody so versatile and still tender. But you know, there's a mindset that was in me that when there's a problem, you just have to be solution oriented. So if I have to define who Fumilola Oladotun was then, I would just call her tender. Like I will see the solution-oriented person in a different light. So many people limited my personality because I was an introvert, but they don't see that solution orientation as something that is really a light, something that's, you know, is unusual to see. But I will call Fumilola then as a tender person. I don't believe somebody can be born with some skills, especially the fact that so many skills have to be learned, whether directly or indirectly. I lived with my mom and my grandmother, and I realized that entrepreneurship is solution to people. It's not just looking for their money. My mother did business, and I realized that from her need, she was a civil servant. She wasn't really needing the money, but she saw people going far to go and get ice block, and she's like, I have lights, I have freezers, why not? Let me meet these people's need. I remember I was at bank. It's the money we save from day 1, day 2, day 3. Throughout the month, we don't touch it. And she may have a project and she'll be like, that money that is with you, go bring it. So day 1, day 2, day 3, and that is where accountability works. I have learned accountability a long time. She will give me paper day 1, day 2, day 3 till the end of the month. It's just for me to put inside the envelope paper and wrap together and keep for her. So it doesn't matter with other days. It's only when we need change, that was cash period, you need change.
So that probably you are the first daughter, that was why.
Oh, I'm the last child. I have 3 elder siblings, 2 sisters and a brother. And we started making ice blocks.
You don't really.
I can tell you, that business actually helped me beyond my childhood. I have done business while I was in school. I mean ice block business now.
Wow.
I did ice block business even when I got married. I was pregnant, and the easiest thing for me to do is just to start ice water in my kitchen, put it in the freezer, and come up with money. So my parents made me know that if you have done your best, you can become the best. You don't compare your best with somebody's best. That person is on their lane, you are on your lane. And growing up, I've always been hearing people say some things about me, about being slow, being sluggish. Who will give you a job? You can't get a good job if you are sluggish, if you are slow or something. But it propelled me in the sense that one of those days I told my eldest sister now that somebody said I can't get a good job with my personality. She said if you cannot get a good job, then you create one.
Wow!
I can't forget
That's exactly what you're doing.
And I was so small. I mean, I think I was about 7 or 8.
Goodness.
And I didn't forget that day because I was really depressed that day. And she was like, what's wrong with you? And I told her that somebody said I can't get a good job with my kind of personality, that I'm so sluggish, I was so slow, and I wasn't so aggressive. Then she told me that, and I took it. Since then.
Please, can you give a shout out to your elder sister?
Oh, Folake Wade, I love you. Thank you so much for being so awesome to me. I wouldn't leave my other siblings out.
Yeah, sure. Everybody has something. I'm actually getting emotional myself.
That is it. When we are talking about relationships, it starts with siblings.
Yeah, I know.
And my mom used to say something. That is, my children will not be enemy to each other.
Amen.
She was so deliberate about one helping the other. And I must say, Festus Oladotin, I love you too. Janice Ajobiewe, I love you too. Thank you for helping me and giving me the relationship that has taken me to where I am today. I must say I had a lot of good people around me growing up.
Aren't you blessed? So tell us about this story about playing with sand.
Okay. My husband is a wonderful person.
Oh, you want to give him a shout out too?
Okay, Bidemi Bello. I love you always. I mean, always. Most times when I get so tired, so worried, so down and depressed at the early days of putting this together, he will say, what's wrong with you? And I say, I'm so tired. I'm rethinking it. And he'll be like, what's wrong with you? You are playing with sand and you are so tired. Who goes to work to play with sand from morning to night and now gets tired? Come on, cheer up. But it gave me the real perception about what I was doing.
It was actually playing with sand.
Yes.
I remember back in the days, when truly and in honesty, even in the rain, remember?
Yeah.
You're going and playing with sand and putting,
building little huts.
Yeah.
That fun is still what is still. and I was happy. The fun never died. It's just that, you know, when you are looking forward to something coming out, or maybe it's scaling and it's not scaling, sometimes you just get so worried that what is it that I'm not doing? And, you know, out of all these rigorous trials, research, trials of firing, failing, and all sorts, and I'm about being depressed, it comes with that season. Tired again. Are you not playing with sand? Skills are learned. Research skill is a key in law. You have to be able to learn about your environment, what you have at hand, and what you are able to make of it. When the opportunity to make this came, I didn't know what to make, like I was naive. I had a guy then when I was in school, Deacon James and his wife, and he had a friend, he still has a friend, like Dr. Femi Olotu. And one of those nights when they had the chit chats, I was serving my boyfriend then, not my husband. Wow. Was with them. He knew them before me, but you know, I was privileged to be in the house. He comes from outside at least to come in and learn at their feet. So one of those days he was just teasing me, Onidodo, Onimoy. Yes, he just said, leave this girl, what's your problem? And he said, don't worry. And he did that thing again. What's your problem? Do you want to marry? Yes, I want to marry. What is it? What is it? Is she selling dodo? And I looked up straight. Yes. Not dodo as it's were. Not dodo as it's were.
No shyness, nothing.
Anyway, as tender as I was, not really.
So how old is this tender you're talking about? Because you keep talking about tender. Were you like 20, 25, you know?
Even to look at that age now, I think I was 22. Yeah.
Really tender?
Yeah. You know, when you see somebody doing the kind of business I'm doing, it's got to be actually somebody, it's a rigorous work. No. I peel yam, I peel beans, I grind it, not in my room, go and grind this, come back, set up a space because the place is not permanent. I mean, I used to actually have a second thought, who sent me? But you know, there was a passion. As tender as I was there, even with the kind of course I was taking, nobody believed it. I had people who called me then Barrister Momoy. You can't imagine, but you know, people will always talk. And that doesn't stop me because at night they come with their money.
Oh yeah.
So, if I must say, the opportunity came out of what I was already doing. And he asked, what do you know about clay? I said, I don't know anything. He said, do you know what miniatures are? I said, I don't. He said, you should come to my office. I have some stuff to show you. Then I went with my boyfriend. We went together and we had a very nice time because he told us about electrical insulators made out of clay, about vases made out of clay, cups made out of clay, saucers made out of clay. Actually, it was showing us everything.
What is the relationship between Onidodo, Onimoy, and the frying of fried yam and akara? Is there a relationship between that and clay? Miniature?
I would say passion is fundamental. Whoever can turn 10 naira to 20 naira can also turn 100 naira to 1,000. It's a matter of passion. Passion is fundamental. So the passion is sown in me, not because I wasn't looking wretched, I wasn't looking like a poor girl. For her to be doing that, is it because you needed the money? No, even though the money is an addition. But the fact that I was doing that passionately, that was what he saw, and he felt like this person should be able to do this.
Oh wow.
It's one of those days after I came back from law school, he just gave us the key. Like when I was married.
Okay.
You see, learning with the elders, they see when you are genuine.
What's the market like?
Presently, we have a wide range of products. I mean varieties when it comes to home, office space, and even landscapes. So we have lamps like this tall, beautiful lamp.
The clay you use, do you import your clay?
All are locally sourced. All are locally sourced, locally processed, and locally used. And it's serving local needs. And we are going international. Talk about sculptures, talk about table verses, floor verses for consoles, for landscapes, talk about entrances, planters. We have a wide range of products.
This is Ilorin, Nigeria. I don't even know why anybody in this country should bother about importing anything, fueling other people's economy when we have all that we need in this country. Are there people who are taking a leaf from what you're doing? And how often do you go? Are there schools that in Nigeria would bother, or do you have a school where you have created space for, training and grooming, young children? What's your vision?
Presently, we have about 25 young people working with us now, and I can tell you that most of them don't even know about clay before they came into this business. So we trained them and we paid them. We gave them the room to learn on the job and still serve us while here. And there are even university students that come in for CWES from time to time. And that's to tell you that we have impacted so many young people, not just the young, we have impacted generations. Because once you start training one person, one man, one woman, and we even train our women to do the most part of this, which is clay processing, you have trained a generation.
What is clay processing? For those of us who are at home and watching you, tell us clay processing and how we can get into this space.
All right, clay processing is the separation of impurities from clay. Clay is actually a mineral resource, let me say. So processing it is a separation, either by washing or by sieving, but majorly by washing. That's what we do here. So our women, they are so skilled and empowered to do that. So without them,
how much international window outlets you have, with this? Because we see that Nigerian people go out, they import, it's imported from wherever. I'm not going to mention anybody because
we've sent our products to Burkina Faso, we've sent to UK, we've sent to US. Anyway, let me just say, as much as I believe that there's a power that can propel you forward, especially when you are already in a line that is working so well. I'm not waiting for anybody to actually come in and be a savior for me. As much as I see a need, I serve it, and that's what I do day to day. But one step at a time. Opportunities abound. if I'm to make any proposal, maybe for government to actually help us with laws that will help local industries. I mean, there's so much we can offer when it comes to local industry. Clay is something that is locally processed. We don't have to take it outside the country to process it. It's all processed in here, done here, made in here, and you know, there's a lot we can achieve if we have a bigger power, access to funds, access to grants, access to mechanization. Because to even import machines now, it's a lot. So if we are going to ask for anything, it's for the government to look into things that can help local industries.
That's very nice.
Yeah.
So between you and Engineer Bideli Bello, you're just enjoying yourselves as couples, or are there, follow-ups?
Follow-come.
Follow-come.
Okay, I have a beautiful girl and a beautiful, and some boy now.
Well, he might be beautiful as well. What tells you that boys are not beautiful?
I would tell you that he's a beautiful boy. Because, I mean, for me to be so in depth with this kind of work with two children, they understand their assignment. So many times I have to just tell them, Mommy is busy, Mommy is busy, please, 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 I want to go and rest, I want to go and sleep, I want to go and play, and they just oblige. I mean, I must say I am blessed with two wonderful kids.
Do you want to say something to them so that they know their mommy?
Darasimi, you know your mommy's little girl. I love you always. Oluwa Damisi, my champ. Damisi Bobo, I love you too.
So tell me, well, you were talking about Oluwa Damisi and Darasimi.
And I'm rested. I'm still resting anyway. I don't think I'm going back to that lane. I don't just believe in excellence only in my professions won't make me a success. I'm talking about family life, educational life, because depth, insight is a thing. I'm talking about social life.
Wow.
I'm talking about health. And you know, there's a thing that's after you have gone through so much work, the body is retiring. So if you're going to have a balanced life, you've got to balance it from now. And that is where the place of taking care of myself comes in. Okay, I have recreational activities I do alone and sometimes with my kids. I go to the pool, I swim, spend some time with nature. It's a lot I do for myself, but I mean, I like road journeys, going on holidays and vacations, you know, but the pocket has got to be right.
Oh yeah, sure, yeah.
No, self-knowledge is self-love, so I know how to serenade myself, to take care of myself.
Particular music that takes you up there.
Anyway, I must be very sincere, I love music, but you know, I think I can't take the place of God out of my life. I like worship. I like to sing in songs. Oh,
to the
good, hallelujah to the Lamb, to the Lamb.
That's beautiful. So beautiful. Thank you so very much. It's been awesome talking with you. Wow. Would you tell that this lady, Barrister Fumilola Bello, is a woman of substance, not just a woman of substance, but a prime woman? It is on this note that I say, till we catch you up again next week with another prime woman, Ujunwa Kalo here, saying, I'm signing out.
Our nation's cultural heritage is also a source of wealth for economic development.
The advantage of preserving our cultural legacies, therefore, cannot be overemphasized. Talking about leaving an enduring legacy that has stood the test of time in cultural preservation and economic empowerment, a perfect fit is an icon and epitome of cultural renaissance, Chief Mrs. Nike Okundaye and her enterprise, Nike Art Gallery.
I started my center in Osogbo by training the trainers. When I train you, you must train other people. I started that one in 1967 in Osogbo in the backyard of our house. So small, after I start with 20 people. So from there, those 20 people I train, I will tell them they must train other people. So now the center has expanded to 4 locations. The headquarters is in Osogbo. We are having 150 students every 3 months. And we have trained over 10,000 in Osogbo alone.
Turning trash to treasure, waste to wealth is one of Nike Okundaye's many innovations to impact the community by ridding the environment of waste while creating wealth for sustainable living through converting the waste into beautiful art pieces.
When I moved to Abuja in 1996 to start the recycling art, the one, all the spare parts you throw away, we start turning it to treasure. All these beads, they are from pure water bottle. The one I'm wearing now, they are from pure water bottle. So we are training people how to use this to make a jacket, to make skirts. And after we train you, this is a job. Adire has come to stay. So when people say they have no job, this is a job. You don't need to go to the farm. You can do this behind your yard. You can do it at your veranda, the beadwork. You can make jewelry for hand. You can make key holder at your house. So I call it training the trainers. So the only way we can preserve it is to be teaching the younger people, because Nigeria belongs to the youth.
When it comes to promoting our cultural legacies within and outside the country to attract the much needed foreign exchange for economic development, Nike Okundaye does not need any introduction.
I've seen a lot. I've seen a lot of culture. You see the identity, Nigerian identity inside the drawing and the painting. You can feel it. It's very unique, very different, colorful. It shows how Nigerian people are really joyful. They have color. They have, even in the simple things, they are nice.
I'd like to buy everything because it's very beautiful. It's different. You see the colors. There is portrait, black and white, different color, classic, a little bit classic paints, but also moderns. And I don't know how to qualify because it's very different. It's a nice pleasure for the eyes.
Culture is what defines a people. In spite of dynamic changes in civilization and technology, the nature of humans has remained unchanged over generations. Therefore, any nation that loses its cultural legacies to influences of colonization will eventually lose its economic power and potential.
Hello and welcome to the news update at 11 on NTA News 24. I am Tessie Oberi. The Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, in collaboration with heads of tertiary institutions and other stakeholders, have pegged the minimum admissible cutoff scores for admission into Nigeria's higher institutions at 150 for universities, 150 for colleges of nursing, and 100 for polytechnics. The decision was taken during the 2026 JAM policy meeting in Abuja.
To be admitted to any of our universities, both public and private. Any institution found to have conducted admissions outside the centralized admission processes will be held accountable, and appropriate sanctions shall be applied without hesitation.
The Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, NSCDC, says it has arrested 2 suspected vandals and recovered stolen railway sleepers along the Bauchi-Kano road. NSCDC spokesperson Afolabi Babawale says the Commandant General Special Intelligence Squad intercepted a Peugeot Boxer vehicle conveying the suspected vandalized materials and arrested Alzuma Yakubu and Ismail Mohammed. He says the operation followed the directive of the Commandant General, Professor Ahmed Abubakar Audi, to tackle the vandalism of railway infrastructure in Bauchi State. The Corps adds that investigations are ongoing to uncover other members of the syndicate and recover stolen items. Almost 20,000 Nigerian pilgrims have been airlifted by the National Hajj Commission as airlift operation hits 50%, with 10 states already completing airlift of their prospective pilgrims to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia for this year's Hajj. And that's the update at this hour. Join us at 1 o'clock for more. I am Tessie Omiri. Good morning.
This is the network service of the NTA.
Hello and welcome everyone to Insight. I'm Nnamdi Odipo.
And I'm Elizabeth Omori. Thank you for joining us this week.
Today we're discussing how rapid digitization and an expanding AI ecosystem are outpacing Nigeria's cybersecurity defenses. And John Orakwe, AI Programs Lead, will give us insights on the critical necessity of a transparent, inclusive national AI strategy. We'll also be speaking with Dr. Stephen Gbatigbe Benjuel, President Pan-Africa AU Agenda 2063 Diplomatic Mission, and he will be responding to our evolving issues on intra-continental migration and the struggle for scarce economic resources within Africa may be posing a threat to AU's agenda for a borderless Africa by 2063.
As we celebrate families this week, we will look at family values and the role of women in upholding these values. And Bolaji Raji, Chairman and Founder, New Dawn for Women and Community Intervention Initiative, will speak to us on how to be better societies.
Whatever the issues are,
the National Assembly is constitutionally empowered to scrutinize,
however complex or intricate.
We have involved all the academia, the members of the academia. We have involved the academies.
Be it government policies or in fact any issue of public concern.
Our job is to help you gain clarity and make sense of it all.
This is not really healthy for our democracy.
There's a lot of aggrievance in terms of who has been in power longest and who becomes the governor of the state.
It's also in the quality of food being consumed.
After all, perception is insight.
And gaining understanding is also getting insight.
As Nigeria emerges as a leading tech hub in Africa, the integration of artificial intelligence, that is AI, into key sectors like finance, governance, and indeed our daily lives has unfortunately introduced unprecedented complexities. Granted, AI drives productivity, but it has also fundamentally shifted the cybersecurity landscape in Nigeria. And so it will seem like the more we integrate AI into our systems, the more we must alter our defensive postures, I should say. Let me bring in my guest at this point, Orakwe John. He's an AI programs lead and global AI educator, as well as being a digital transformation leader. Welcome to Insight, Orakwe. Glad you could join us.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Namdi. It's a pleasure to be here.
Okay, I wish I could reel out the figures that I have in front of me, but let me just see how quickly I can go, and quantify, go through the figures and quantify the risks that we currently face. In first quarter of 2025, it said that businesses experienced an average of 388, I should say, cyber attacks per week. That's like a 47% increase from figures that were presented, in the previous quarter. And, in terms of finance, financially, the losses are said to be staggering. We've gotten reports from just about everywhere. FBI's latest report says that global cyber crime losses are surged to a record 20.8 billion, and that's in dollars in 2025 alone. And Nigeria ranks, amongst the top 20 countries for complaints. So internationally, there is the issue. Domestically, we're facing a deluge of attacks. UNODC estimated our losses to be around 1.1 trillion, and that's across banks and telecoms, and of course, not forgetting digital payment frauds, that we experience. Even though it said that it declined by 51% to 25.85 billion naira in 2025. And that's because CBN had to carry out some intervention measures and the rest. But in spite of that, the threat remains acute. My question to you, John, is, doesn't it seem, or isn't it truthfully so, that these numbers that I've reeled out, figures that I've stated, that it would seem that there's a targeted, sophisticated attack, perhaps on Nigeria, rather than just opportunistic hacking taking place here? Does it seem so to you?
Well, what has happened, especially since the last quarter of 2025, is that the AI models that we have in the marketplace have gotten really good. So good that they now aid in the, as much as they aid in work, they also aid bad actors that carry out all of these cyber attacks against infrastructure. So what I mean is, just about 4 weeks ago, we saw a report coming from Canada and from London that the central banks of all of these different countries decided to have emergency meetings with the banks that they termed too big to fail. Now, the reason why they had that meeting was because of something called Mythos. Mythos is a new model from Anthropic. Anthropic is one of the biggest AI labs out there. Now, this model is said to be able to look at any cyber system, any digital system, be it a browser, be it the IT infrastructure of banks, the core banking infrastructure, and whatever, and then be able to spot all the frailties, all the weak points in these systems. Now, a lot of people panicked when this model was released, but it might interest you to know that since December, or maybe since November, December of 2025, the models have been able to look at the system and spot all the vulnerabilities, depending on who is prompting these systems. So what has happened since the last quarter of 2025 is that the AI models that are available in the marketplace have gotten so good that, given in the hands of an expert, right, they are able to point this to an existing infrastructure and then spot all the weaknesses. So we've seen the Corporate Affairs Commission, they were hacked recently.
Exactly, and exactly, that's going to, it's something you and I will talk about down the line, but I get what you mean. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Okay, so the Corporate Affairs Commission, Sterling Bank, we saw their hack happen to them, FCMB, and a whole lot of Nigerian institutions have been affected by these recent hacks. The reason it's happening more frequently is because they are now systems that allow hacks that used to require a team of 80 people to do before. You need just 4 people with a team of AI agents that they can point to an existing infrastructure, and then they can take it down in 2 hours or maybe even in 20 minutes, compared to how much time in terms of human resources and in terms of time that they have to spend having to do this kind of attacks before.
Orakwe, and just like I said, you referenced CAC, and that's right on point. Yeah. It's part of what we're talking about here. These advances have become so good that they've aided production, as it were. They've become so good that they are causing critically, I mean, we're seeing them being used specifically for critical infrastructural bridges. And, you know, what is also potent for us, as it were, is that it presents as vulnerability, especially for databases here in Nigeria, particularly for agencies like you've mentioned, the CAC. I mean, we all remember that incident that played out, and now, you know, a cyber attack on Corporate Affairs Commission, Nigeria's Corporate Affairs Commission, and what it meant. You know, that breach alone forced the shutdown of the company's registration portal for 3 days. And it also did expose sensitive data, you know, on ownership structures, directors' details, to members of the public. I mean, both people that should ordinarily have access to this information and those who should not have all had access to this information. These incidents, or such incidents, I think demonstrates that, well, no entity is immune. Doesn't that create a risk for our entire national digital infrastructure? For you, what specific defensive AI measure do you think at this point we should begin to deploy to protect, you know, especially government systems from enemy attacks? I think that's the word, because it will seem like this is a war already. You know, and how do we balance that, you know, with the need for, because there's still a need for open data and digital governance in Nigeria. So how do we achieve somewhat of a balance?
Well, yes. On Tuesday, March 10th of this year, the CBN did something very, very commendable. They recommended that every bank in Nigeria, every microfinance bank, and every payment service provider should do something with AI. So they forced all of them to do real-time AI monitoring. So real-time transaction monitoring and then real-time anti-fraud monitoring. This was a very important mandate. In fact, it's a landmark mandate that the CBN issued. And by June 10 of this year, every payment service provider, every bank in Nigeria, every microfinance bank is required to submit an implementation roadmap. So what it means is this. The CBN is mandating them to do machine-to-machine defense. So what that means is that if the bad actors are deciding to use AI to attack, you know, existing infrastructure, the banks themselves, all of these institutions must introduce AI-based tools that help them to do real-time monitoring of their entire infrastructure. So how that works is like this. They can have, you know, millions of digital tripwires across their entire infrastructure. So whenever anything goes out of the norm, the system automatically triggers that something is about to happen here. Maybe somebody is about to access information that they're not supposed to access, and then whoever needs to attend to that situation attends to it in real time. So what we had before is a situation where the hack happens. Maybe funds are stolen, records are stolen, data is stolen, and then we respond after the hack has happened. But what the CBN has recommended all the banks should do, all the microfinance banks should do, all the payment service providers should do, is exactly what every other government institution must do. And I think it's the job of the Nigerian Data Protection Agency. They have to mandate that every institution at all that collects individual citizen data must implement this same real-time monitoring of their entire IT infrastructure. So the defensive posture that we must take is machine-to-machine defense. If the people are attacking, if the bad actors are attacking with machines, you have to also deploy machines to protect against these attacks.
Exactly. And that's where this whole issue of a national AI strategy comes to play. And I mean, and this is also, and I think it's also germane and quite critical to have somewhat of an active collaboration between the private sector now being innovators, and then government institutions, just so we have a robust national AI strategy in place that is workable for our system. How do you think they factor in moving the train, as it were, in, you know, securing our cybersecurity space, as it were, and what do you think they need to prioritize at this point, whether in terms of transparency, in terms of inclusivity, so that we have the kind of collaborative, you know, efforts or responsibilities that we're talking about? What do you think they need to do in the first instance to build trust and close that resource divide between innovators and government agencies, so that we build the kind of momentum that we really do require for cybersecurity protection in Nigeria?
So in the private sector, I know that there are a lot of incredible innovators. I know a number of solutions in the private sector that the banks will be deploying to comply to CBN's regulations, which has the mandate of March 10. So what I do think is that the government, especially the government agencies, need to be speaking to these private sector innovators, right? If there's some way that they can, give them incentives or like what discounts, right? They can get discounts from the private sector so that our collective records are protected, right? And I do think that the NCC can do a lot of collaboration with the National Orientation Agency, right? In the sense that people need to be aware that these deepfakes are, here to stay, and they are going to get better and better, right? So if anything, the people who are most vulnerable, the older people, the population which you have mentioned, they all need to be aware that this is something that is a real threat now, and the technology will only get better and better. And so that way, they understand, to question the things that they see on the internet. Everything that is digital on the internet can be altered, right? And it can be altered in a way that is, almost unbelievably real, right? The Finnish, that's the country Finland, they have a very good media literacy curriculum. I do think that when the National Orientation Agency is, ready to go on this project of helping Nigerians understand the dangers of deepfake, they can look at what Finland is currently doing. They have the best media literacy program in the world. And I'm sure we can imitate one or two things from what they currently do. If at all, if it's possible, we can introduce these media programs in secondary schools, maybe even in the universities, just so they're of the things that are happening now, and they know how to protect themselves and those that are also vulnerable.
Okay, I wonder, Orakwe, if how much you know, if you're tracking this National Digital Economic and E-Governance Bill, that it's supposed to provide a legal, backbone for AI governance in Nigeria. Of course, the bill, it's currently before the National Assembly. It's said to be crucial to creating a comprehensive, a safer, and efficient digital ecosystem for Nigeria. That, of course, provided that existing infrastructure and cybersecurity challenges are effectively addressed. I wonder if you think the same, if you think that is it and that would work, and generally what you think about the bill, and if properly enforced, if passed eventually and properly enforced, how it would, help to further protect our cybersecurity space.
Well, I haven't had the pleasure of going through the bill, but I would definitely, check it after this program. So, if anything, I do think that there are lots of good examples from around the world, and I mean, as usual, we have, we're very good at passing excellent bills here, but then it's execution that is always the bane of most of what we do. I do hope that when that bill is passed, and if it fits all the right metrics, that is executed correctly.
And I would agree with you there, or maybe perhaps lean a bit to what you said. Our problem has never been having policies. Policies are always in place, but how do we enforce these policies? How do we track their implementation? Do we ensure that the implementing agencies keep to their KPIs? Do we track them and monitor their progress or progress made? I think that's the key issue, and you've rightly said that. In rounding off our conversation, I'd like to know if there are perhaps some recommendations that you have for safeguarding Nigeria's digital ecosystem, such as, maybe funding indigenous AI innovation, perhaps providing grants for AI startups to retain, at least for us to retain national talent here in Nigeria, as well as any other recommendation that you may have. But let me ask you this, Orakwe. How do you think we can really enforce meaningful transparency within a system like ours, within the ecosystem, cybersecurity ecosystem in Nigeria, especially within the context of some of what we've talked about today?
Yes, also, in implementing the mandate that the CBN has given, think preference should be given to local innovators. And why I say that is because they have data, they have models, AI models that can help fight, these cyber attacks that are very conversant with our local environment. So they're very conversant with our own issues, how to combat issues within the Nigerian banking ecosystem. So I think preference should be given to local innovators. And then, of course, programs like federal government's 3 MMTT, that's 3 million students. Okay. This is the time when we can absorb all talent to understand how to, especially the ones who did the cybersecurity track. They can understand how these integrations are done, right? And how the federal government is going to make that partnership so that we've talked about. I think that the tech talents that the government has produced from that program will be heavily involved. And because of what I do, which is AI programs, I'm able to help different businesses understand how to integrate AI into their workflow. It's important that the talent that was produced from this program, from the 3MMTT program, have function in this AI space at this point in time, and just make it all the more easier. Because if there's one thing I found out is that there are not many people who do what I do at this point in time, which should not be the case. Right? Because I was in Rwanda recently, and then the client was looking for someone to do their AI strategy in Lagos, and there was nobody who they could really find to do that task. But I know
in Lagos,
many young people.
I know Rwanda is making so much progress, but to say that you couldn't find someone in Lagos, I mean, isn't that a shame, really?
I would say it is, right? So it is important that all the technical talent that we have, we find a way to help them bridge the bridge the gap between business and technology, right? So they can go to any place and then help to transform people and processes and systems, and also merge all of it with technology. It's what AI requires, really.
Rakwe, this has been quite insightful. I'd like to thank you for giving us time. I understand you're at a workshop. That's why we can hear, we get snippets of sounds from your area, people talking behind you. That's okay. I'm very sure our viewer has been able to glean as much as we have from our end here. I'd like to thank you so much, Orakwe John, AI Programs Lead, Global AI Educator, and Digital Transformation Leader, for granting us audience for coming on Insight. Thank you so much for your thoughts on this matter.
All right. Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Moving on to our next conversation, we want to talk about some recent, or should I say reoccurring events between Nigeria and Ghana, as well as between Nigeria and South Africa. And now this, more about how they are raising serious questions, not about the events per se, but how they impact, Pan-Africanism, as it will seem, amidst, this African Union's Agenda 2063 for a borderless continent. And I say this because we appear to be seeing two visions colliding here. Vision number one says there are no strangers amongst Africans. Vision number two says, look, Africans are strangers in their own continent. But the question is this: can we ever truly build a continent where every African, regardless of their birthplace, can live, work, and belong without fear? My guest is Dr. Stephen Gbatibi Ben Jewel. He is President, Pan-African AU Agenda 2063 Diplomatic Mission. Doc, thank you so much for joining us. It's a pleasure to have you on Insight.
Thank you very much, sir.
So,
it's
Doc,
we also that to Nigerians.
Thank you so much for coming on our program. Doc, I'm sure you've heard my intro, so I want you to dissect this whole issue of African unity. More than just a diplomatic talking point, more within the context of what we're seeing play out, across the continent. Not just because of what we've seen play out in Accra, Ghana, or what we've seen, play out in Joburg, South Africa. But I'm saying this because it has happened time and again. So I need your take on three germane issues. First is the issue of migration, intracontinental migration, and now we think there should be a shift in that conversation from migration, being reframed now as a right and not a concession. Second, I'll need your take on this whole concept of protocols of free movement that we have across the continent, whether it's ECOWAS protocol on free movement and all of that. And you know, and SADC and all of that, but more about its compatibility with public order. And then we'll talk about how violence and divisions, you know, violence as a response to some of these issues, you know, is causing division and self-inflicted wound on the continent as it were. So, Doc, three issues that I want you to respond to. First, migration as a right. Second, free movement protocols within the continent. And third, as a response mechanism to some of these issues. Doc, your take.
All right, thank you very much for this. To start with, I'm glad when I see a foremost television agency like NTA concerned about this subject matter. As we all know, that Africa unity has become a major subject, and unfortunately, some of the key people who pushed the agenda of Africa unity are no longer alive, like the Muammar Gaddafi, the Kwame Nkrumah, and the rest of them. If you look at it from some angles, you'll find out that somehow Africa's unity has always become a subject matter of threat to the global system, the global world, and somehow whoever tries to champion Africa's unity completely also becomes a major enemy of the global world. Let me just use it that way. But unfortunately, they said when your enemy is the enemy without, you know what you're fighting against. But when the enemy is the enemy within, then it becomes more deadly. We all know that Aspiration 2 of Agenda 2063 talks about an integrated continent where every trade can take place, free movements of people, you understand completely. What unfortunately is the saddening reality that we have today is the fact that within ourselves, Africans, there is this complex issue. The other time we knew how the Ghanaians were agitating that Nigerians should leave Ghana. But the most troubling part of this is what is currently happening in South Africa, where the xenophobic attack, where the average South African, the native South African wants not just Nigerians, but every other Africans to leave, you know. We all see this from different angles. It has a lot of political undertone. The elections are close, and somehow Africans are trying to using it to see how they can buy votes. That's why there has been
we don't know this for a fact, but we know that some of what we see playing out is actually impacting the supposed African unity that we preach. That's the agenda, AU Agenda 2063 intends to achieve. And that's why I mean, doesn't it amount to mere rhetorics when we say we're adopting an agenda for the continent, and then in practice, we're seeing continents or countries within regional blocks and you know, regional blocks, whether it's West Africa, whether it's the Southern Africa, you know, not adhering to some of these treaties and binding treaties, I dare say, that they have, especially on free movement.
Exactly. That's why, you know, I was trying to build up some things to address what you are saying. That is why it is troubling. And for us from the Pan-African EU Agenda 2063 diplomatic mission, just last week, I was at Addis Ababa. I went with about a 15-man delegate to Addis Ababa, and we had several meetings We were privileged to be with the number 3 person in the AUC, in the person of Ambassador Bankole Adeoye of the Political Affairs, Peace and Security, is the commissioner, and we spoke about some of these things. We came up with a solution, because what is happening right now is that our unity is being threatened.
Yes.
The first 10 years in African Union was designed to silence the gun, but we are not silencing the gun. We're in the 13th year already. That gun. So that's why from our diplomatic mission, we work towards creating what we call the Community Peace Monitor, because we realize that peace in itself starts from the community. It starts from escalating matters. We have noted, because we're trying to do what we call evidence-based. What is happening within the continent right now is that several factors trying to undermine the treaty that leaders came together to keep. Political factors, some persons that will choose to make sure that things are frustrated, and so that their failure should not be seen, they instigate the populace to tell them, the foreigners amongst you. I mean, calling an African a foreigner on the African soil is even an error in itself, based on the free movement. And unfortunately, we are carrying out several activities to speak to this. We are doing a press conference in just about 2 or 3 days from now on the intra-Africa road expedition, which we are talking about free visa movement amongst Africa. All Africans should be considered as one.
Africans.
You understand? That is the stand of the African Union. But unfortunately, that's not what we are seeing playing out.
And there are reasons.
Different states.
And there are reasons. As a matter of fact, there are reasons for some of what was seen play out, because ultimately, part of the reason we want to see an integrated continent are economic. Yes. Yet, there are economic grievances. Part of the reasons we're seeing some of these divisions are also economic grievances. They arise from economic grievances. So I took some time to look up the unemployment figures in South Africa, for instance, and I noticed that it exceeds over 33%, especially amongst young black South Africans. Actually, it tops 45%, as a matter of fact. Some have argued that xenophobia is a rational response to genuine scarcity, and that immigrants, even if they create jobs overall, that they compete for the same informal sector opportunities as the desperate locals. Others argue, there are other arguments, and I'm not saying there are others who do not argue on the other side. Those ones say that, look, xenophobia is an irrational scapegoating manufactured by the elite, and I think that's when you reference that it might have some political undertones, to deflect from governance failures. Yes. I don't know that, but we're just saying it as it is. Where do we draw the line between economic grievance and xenophobic prejudices? Specifically, can a country with severe unemployment, do you think a country with unemployment issues, maybe as the figures we've mentioned earlier, do you think such a country can truly embrace free movement? Do you think, do you think that is even possible to play out in a country battling on its own with scarce economic resource, and then you have people supposedly creating more jobs or coming to struggle for the same small resources that they have? Isn't that like a landmine as it is?
Yes, I agree with you. The average South African, for example, South African labor law is one of the strictest and toughest labor law. As a matter of fact, it is designed in such a way that before a foreigner can get a job, all the options to make sure that it's just like what happens in Nigeria. I don't know how much it has changed, where they have different catchment areas. Some areas are seen as educationally less advantaged or whatever state. So educationally less advantaged states, and all of these things, what happens is that their cutoff mark is lessened. That's what South Africa has done. Specific skill sets and every other thing, and job options, especially in their public sector. An average South African it's until they don't find a South African that can fit into that space before they open it up to other people. But what is now happening is that, let's not forget that a lot of foreigners have come into South Africa. Like I said last time when I was at NTA, still NTA morning show, I said one of our senators talked about we should give them fire for fire. We should, all South African organizations should be stopped. I said, if we do that, Nigerians will be worse hit, because now, whenever you talk about South Africa, the only thing that comes to people's mind is ShopRite, which is not existent as far as I'm concerned. What do they call it now? Multi-choice, which a lot is happening. But and I challenge people to say, go around the street, just be picking out South Africans for me. They really don't travel out so much to places setting up things. But Nigerians, other parts of Africans are very ingenious. They are the ones that have infiltrated their microeconomic space with different organizations, companies, and every other thing. And somehow, these people are very important to the economy. And now, I don't know how much they adhere to that South African labor law. But to start with, people that must be employed must be well trained. Just like we have an aspect of it in every country, including this country. Like I tell people, I'm an employer of labor. I know what I'm saying. A lot of Nigerians are not ready to work. They are not ready to. Everybody's trying to hammer. People no longer want to learn skills anymore. You have jobs, but there's nothing
wrong with wanting to hammer if it's in a good and legit way. I want to hammer.
I know. I'm not doubting that. I'm not doubting that. But what is happening right now is that, for the South African scenario, many of them, we all know this. Those who like to sit, just they love enjoyment against real work. Entitled mentality, sitting down and just thinking that the people that have come in, that have created these jobs, are their problem. You understand? So if that is not addressed by probably doing real national reorientation, and also, even though I believe certain sanctions have to be taken from the apex bodies in the AUC to be able to call to order. Because what is happening is that we're not seeing enough active declaration from the hierarchy of their governments, for example. So what is happening is that all the presidents, the declarations made by presidents of different countries is being threatened by the fact that citizens who are probably wallowing in abject poverty, just said, the unemployment rate is high, and their politicians are trying to say, see, we're not the cause. These are the people. So everybody is quiet. It's affecting the continental agenda, which should allow for free movement, where an African, because really Agenda 23 says that there should be free movement, but how many countries have made that possible? Even with the diplomats, we who work in this space, we still have to go through a lot of clearance, a lot of things. We had the wealthiest man or the richest man in Africa say that he still has to, for him to go into 33 African countries, he must still get visas to be able to get into those places. So free protocol, free movement, of course, many of them will tell you, for security reasons, which there's no doubt about it. But how is it possible in the European Union, for example, that movement is the free movement. Once you are in the European Union, you do at least, maybe the regional bloc like ECOWAS have tried. You can go to some of the ECOWAS countries without much, for some of the region, it's made a bit easier. But if you want to move from here to Addis Ababa, from here, of course, places like Rwanda allows you to go visa-free. Places like Kenya allows you to go visa-free. But still, most of the countries, as I speak to you in Africa, that has not been made possible. You understand? But yes, even when that is going to be possible, and the indigents of that place are not well oriented, and some of the socioeconomic factors are not properly dealt with, you may, just like you said, it may just be some situational suicide, so it may just be even setting some other Africans like a trap, where you go to a country in the name of, I can go there to live, yet others are insecure. And as I'm talking, really what is happening right now is not new. If you look at history, you look at even into times before now, you find out that whenever anybody comes into a land and the person starts becoming very prosperous, there's this thing for the natives to easily say, you have come to take our wealth, you have come to take what belongs to us. If you ask a lot of South Africans, we have lovely South Africans who completely disagree with this xenophobic attack. You understand? So certain persons.
Indeed, and the South African government, as a matter of fact, Doctor, the South African government has also come out to say, look, this does not reflect where our position or where we stand on the issue of migration. You know, even though they went on to also acknowledge that the people have a right to protest against illegal, no such thing as illegal, irregular migration. But Doc, I think this is where we would draw a curtain on our conversation for now. We're totally out of time. Of course, there will be other opportunities to... the situation as it is, we know that the situation in Accra is camp for now, and that was because of President Tinubu's and his Ghanaian counterparts' quick intervention. And yes, peace has returned there. Well, the situation in South Africa is quite fluid, but I know from both ends, Nigeria and South Africa, work is ongoing to ensure that peace and quiet also returns on that front as well. I'd like to thank you so much, Dr. Stephen Benjuel, President, Pan-Africa AU Agenda 2063 Diplomatic Mission. Thank you so much for your thoughts on this matter.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for having me, and I look forward to more time with you.
Definitely.
And the station. God bless
you. Definitely. And you too, sir. And you too. Tomorrow is up next. She will be having yet another critical conversation, and let's just bring her up next to continue with this episode of Insight. Elizabeth Omori.
The family is the core social institution that offers unconditional love, emotional support and security, serving as vital foundation for personal growth, mental well-being and social development. It plays a key role in children instilling values, creating a sense of belonging and providing stability through life's difficulties. But what happens when the family fails in performing these functions? My guest, Bolaji Raji, founder and chairman, New Dawn for Women and Community Intervention Initiative, will speak to us. Mr. Raji, thank you so much for joining us on Insights.
You are welcome. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And it's good to know that you champion the cause of women and children, which is also a way of promoting the family. Now, the family is considered the foundation of society. Where has it failed if we look at the rate of ills in society?
Yeah, thank you. The family is the nucleus of any development in any nation, because that is where it all starts from. But one cannot forget to look at what really causes the issues that makes the family not to be able to hold on to the core values. I look deeper than just what is ordinary.
Okay.
There are many factors that are responsible. The first one could be human error, which is global, and the other one could be natural disaster. These factors, even though we are not looking at it critically, but when you look at, when I say human error stems from maybe wars, insecurity. I'm talking about the foundation that led to all these family values not being that is eroding the family values. Any family whereby there is crisis in a place or there is insecurity, there is no way such family will be able to take care of be able to take care of the needs, immediate needs of their family. And if it's natural disaster, these are two important issues that will lead to erosion of family values. Yes, family values is very important. Economy factor is equally part of it. So those are the two things I identify as being the principal factors that have been affecting the families from being able to take care of their responsibility.
Okay, I'm going to come in this. I'm happy you mentioned security. Now, I want us to bring this down to the women, because oftentimes when we talk about the family, women come into play. How does the family provide security and stability when we talk about women and the girl child in a family? How is security provided?
Okay, thank you. When you look at these two factors, either insecurity, the two major causes of the families that will be severely affected, women and children. If it's economy too, it's equally women and children.
Yes.
So when women are being affected, that is the core, the real core values of the family, women essentially. If women are being affected, the whole essence of taking care of family is disrupted. So women is playing a very critical role in the development of any community, in raising the children, even in providing sustainable initiative for the family. Women has a critical role to play, but when these two factors comes into play, it affects women greatly and it disrupts a lot of things. So the security of a nation should be paramount in the sense that those two members of family that normally affected are the children and the women. So security plays a role, a major role, and economy equally plays a major role, which destabilizes the family. So women have a lot of role to play. But these two factors, economy and insecurity, if it can be tackled, I'm sure the erosion of values that have been taken away gradually can be returned. Thank you.
Okay. Now, before we talk about what you do for women and children in your foundation, how do families help in shaping children's values and behaviors?
Yeah, essentially, we are taking care, looking at women development. We take it very important because we discover women has a major role to play in shaping the values of the children, which translates to the values of the community. We try to look at what areas that women really, that the kind of economy that will be impactful with the women. Essentially what they do, we try to bring women together in clusters of 25 and try to see that they have common businesses they are doing and we try to see how we can empower them in order to increase their productivity. Because if woman is given an opportunity, the family definitely will stabilize. Yes, men equally have roles to play, but women are always around to take care of the children. And when you build your children, you are equally building the nation. So women, like my research before I formed the foundation, that seed a woman and it multiplies, meaning that whatever you give to a woman, it will definitely be multiplied positively. So you cannot take out women from community development. In fact, they have essential role to play in the community. And coming back to your questions, how do women shape, what roles do they do to shape
values?
The values. Yes, women, most of the time, the children are close to them, and they understand the children. They know what they want, they know what they don't want. They study them. It's naturally God has placed that role for women to be able to play better than men. So, and we cannot take that away from the natural role which God has given to them. So for any community or any values to be impacted positively in any family, in any community, women is very essential, and they have a major role to play in bringing that values back.
But sir, some men see the empowerment of a woman as a form of competition. Is this true? And I'm asking because you are a man, you are a father, you are a grandfather, and you are a husband.
Yeah, thank you. It's part of the reason why Nihomsi comes to play, to encourage other men that women have a critical role to play. They are there to complement whatever men are bringing. Even in the Quran, God emphasizes, Niza'ukum aritul lakum, see the woman and she will multiply. It doesn't mean impregnate a woman and to give birth. See the woman, she will multiply. Is that the role of women in community development? From my research, I believe that is what God is saying. So if God has decreed something, man should understand that is a decree by Almighty Allah, and we should support that. Yes. In any man, yes, man have a lot of ego, but it has to look at the family first, the family values. You have to look at, is it my ego or the family values, or what did God say? So I will encourage all our men. We have wonderful men who are ready to take up the challenge and empower women. And we are spreading it everywhere. Everywhere we are trying to encourage our men. Let us empower our women for community development. It makes life easier for everybody. Thank you.
Makes life easier for everybody. Now, in building a healthy nation, in building healthy homes, how do we sustain family values to ensure that Nigeria becomes a better place for all to live? Because if we look at the issues we have around us, the vices, years back when you give birth to a child, that child is raised or trained by everybody at home, in society and all that. Now it's not like that. You give birth to a child, that child remains in the four walls of that building, probably until you move to another house or you move outside the country. And then we seem to be losing our values, moral values, social values, even spiritual values to an extent. So now, in building homes and families with better values, how do we sustain what we already have for Nigeria to be a better place for all to live?
Okay, thank you. That's a very beautiful question. Yes, this thing, I will look at it from different angles, from what most people would say. Africa by nature, we are socialists. We are community-based people. Years back, when a child is being born, is born for the whole community to be trained. That is Africa. That is social life we are used to. Yes, democracy is good. It gives us our freedom, but we would have imbibed these community values into our democratic values. Because all of us who are fathers or grandfathers or grandmothers today, we are being brought up based on that values, where every family is every family's keeper. We are always our brother's keeper. There have been a time when my extended families, the same school my children will attend is the same school they will attend, their children will attend, whether they have money or not. Those values have been eroded. Everybody onto his own. And we try to copy the developed world, who have really shaped their own democracy with social welfare. Africa democracy, social welfare is not, the institution of social welfare is not well established. What used to be our social welfare is our families, extended families, brothers, sisters. If I don't have, I can call my brother. If my sister don't have, she can call me. My children can go to my brother's house and you can be 100% sure they will be well taken care of. But all those values are missing in our society. And the resources is not enough to even establish the real social welfare institution. Those are the basic reasons that is eroding our values. Family, brothers suspecting brothers. And this has created unhealthy competition, whereby it's putting a lot of pressure on everybody in every unitary family and extended family. So I think we need to go back, readdress where we are coming from, the communal life we're used to. Even if our institution of social welfare will be developed, we should consider where we're coming from before. These are our communal values. Thank you.
Bolaji Raji, Chairman and Founder, New Dawn for Women and Community Intervention Initiative. We want to thank you so much for joining us on Insight this week, and we do appreciate your time on our focus. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, madam.
That's it on this episode of the program. To join us same time next week for more on Insights. My name is Nnamdi Adipo.
And I'm Elizabeth Omori. We'll see you next week. Bye for now.
Are you a tech enthusiast? Perhaps you want to know more about the devices and gadgets you use. Tech Mode will bridge that gap. Connect great minds while extraying everything about technology as it concerns you.
It is Tech Mode.
Tech Mode is unlocking your tomorrow today.
Commander, what's going on?
Vandalism in Nigeria continues to undermine national development, causing financial losses running into billions of naira and creating serious social and economic consequences. The destruction of critical infrastructure not only leads to massive repair costs, but also places additional strain on government budgets. Beyond the economic burden, the social impact is equally alarming. Vandalized roads, missing manhole covers, damaged bridges, and compromised public structures increase the risk of accidents and fatalities for both pedestrians and motorists. There are also widespread service disruptions. The sabotage of healthcare facilities, water pipelines, power installations, and telecommunication infrastructure leaves citizens without access to essential services such as healthcare, clean water, electricity, and communication. Addressing vandalism requires a multidimensional approach involving stronger security measures, improved technology, community participation, public awareness, and stricter enforcement of the law. In Nigeria, government agencies are intensifying efforts to protect critical national assets. The Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps, through its Critical Infrastructure Protection Strategy, continues to deploy intelligence and surveillance operations to combat vandalism across the country. The National Orientation Agency is also engaging citizens through awareness campaigns aimed at discouraging the destruction of public property. Government is equally encouraging host communities to take ownership of public projects such as solar street lights and community facilities in order to prevent theft and sabotage. On Panorama today, we examine the impact of vandalism on the socio-economic life of the nation, assess the role of community engagement and technology in protecting public infrastructure, and explore how increased public awareness can help Nigerians see these assets as collective property that must be protected. You can follow these news broadcasts live on our website at nta.ng/live and on our other social media handles displayed right on the screen. I'm Awal Yusuf Jibo. Thank you for joining us on Panorama. We begin with the news. The Sultan of Sokoto and President General of the Nigerian Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs, NSCIA, His Eminence Alhaji Muhammad Saad Abubakar, has congratulated elder statesman and leader of Afenifere, Chief Reuben Famuyide Fashoranti, on the occasion of his 100th birthday, describing him as a pride of Nigeria and a national asset whose contributions to nation building remain invaluable. In a statement released upon his return to the country after being away during the centenary celebrations, the Sultan noted that Pa Fashoranti's remarkable longevity and enduring relevance across different phases of Nigeria's political history before, during, and after the era of the late Chief Obafemi Awolowo stand as a testament to a life of exemplary service and leadership. The Sultan praised the centenarian statesman for his immense contributions to education, governance, and national development, particularly highlighting his pioneering role as first principal of Anglican Grammar School, Iju Itaogulu in Akure North in 1957, as well as his service as Commissioner for Finance in the administration of the late Chief Michael Adekunle Ajasin in the old Ondo State. The Sultan stated that Chief Reuben Fashoranti has served Nigeria with distinction and dedication, having contributed immensely to the greatness of this country. It is only fitting that Nigeria continues to honor and celebrate him as one of its most distinguished elder statesmen. He added that Nigerians who believe in the unity, peace, and progress of the country should continue to celebrate and pray for the elder statesman while asking God to grant him continued strength and good health. The chairman of the National Traditional Rulers Council of Nigeria also congratulated the government and people of Ondo State, the Akure-speaking community, and the immediate family of Pa Fashoranti for the privilege and blessing of having such a distinguished personality among them. Meanwhile, the Cross River State government is underscoring rural road connectivity as key to unlocking economic potentials, reduce urban pressure, and foster inclusive development. Administration are constructed to meet approved standards and specifications to ensure durability.
You know it. People will immediately begin to develop both sides of the roads. We had gone far in this particular road infrastructure, but because we are trying to tailor an economy which we are going to add the transportation infrastructure and access to it, we need roads so that people can go travel freely.
This 5-kilometer stretch of the Ukele, Yahe, Wanokom, Waningham Road, once deplorable, is among several road projects rehabilitated by the state government. The state's Ministry of Works, which supervises the project, is of the view that the road now exceeds required standard.
This is 5.2 thickness. That's 0.52. Above the design of the road. This road has a design with specific measurement. Before now, it was 7.3 as per the width of the road. But His Excellency to Digital Commissioner decided to expand the width to 10.3, which is standard now.
For residents, the rehabilitated road means more than infrastructure, as it signals renewed hope for trade, accessibility, and development among the agrarian communities.
Our people are farmers, and this road is going to be of great importance to us because this is where they evacuate foodstuff out. Our farmers will make a lot of money. With this road in place, I tell you, boost commercial activities.
So the situation of the road then was very bad, but now at least we are enjoying it.
With more projects underway across the states, Governor Tu's administration remains committed to opening up more rural communities and driving economic growth. From Yala local government area of Cross River State, Justina Etam, NTA News.
Alongside the import tariff reductions outlined in the 2026 revised fiscal policy, stakeholders are urging the inclusion of additional coordinated logistics measures, which are key drivers for achieving a meaningful reduction in food inflation. Industry players across the import and agribusiness value chain stress that these supporting interventions are essential for delivering the intended impact. Amaka O reports.
Lagos is home to the major and busiest ports in the country. These ports experience movement of goods to various locations and contributes to a large volume of trade across the food markets situated in various parts of the state. Despite the recent decrease in import tariff on some food staples, some traders and buyers say they are yet to feel the impact of government intervention towards reducing food inflation.
The thing that's affecting it is transportation. Let me say, something you used to buy like 100 naira is up to 500 naira now.
Other stakeholders emphasized the importance of an effective mechanism in place to monitor drop-in prices of food. They recommend the importance of addressing other factors that affect the persistent increase in the price level of staple foods.
The storage losses, middlemen's protective hoarding, the bottleneck associated with logistics.
We are talking about cost of fertilizer, cost of agrochemicals, cost of machineries. Those are the principal factors impacting the cost of food as we speak. That is why we still have a situation where the food inflation seems to be going up again.
The quick question is how much of these benefits flows down to the final cost consumer, especially in places like Lagos and major cities all across the country. It will take more than tariff cuts to achieve a meaningful and sustained reduction in food prices, right? It will take a more coordinated effort.
Key players further advocate increase in quality of yields and innovations towards boosting mechanized farming for maximum productivity and food security. In Lagos, Amaka Owo, NTA News.
And now to road safety. The Corps Marshal of the Federal Road Safety Corps, FRSC, Shehu Mohammed, has launched a high-level national capacity building program for senior officers as part of ongoing reforms aimed at strengthening operational leadership, professionalism, and service delivery within the Corps. In a statement signed by the Corps Public Education Officer Osondu Ohairi, the Corps Marshal says the Corps can no longer rely solely on conventional enforcement methods in addressing emerging road safety challenges, stressing that officers occupying strategic leadership positions must evolve with the realities of contemporary traffic management and public expectations. He described the program as a critical component of the Corps' broader institutional transformation agenda, noting that the modern road safety environment demands adaptive leadership, emotional intelligence, sound operational judgment, and enhanced public engagement skills. History should be a tool for advocacy and social change. This is why stakeholders in the education sector emphasize the importance of projecting the legacies and meaningful contributions of women who championed the cause of educating the girl child in Nigeria. These women and their impact on society dates back to the 19th century. Amaka O again reports.
Telling the untold stories of Nigerian women who contributed to the advancement of education of the girl child is what stakeholders recommend should be highlighted and well documented for the younger generation of girls to borrow a leaf from the lives of impact and transformation of these women.
And I keep singing the unsung works of Lady Elizabeth Clifford née Bonham, who was the wife of the governor of Nigeria from 1919 to 1925, because she is the one who did all of the work at that time to ensure that a government secondary school was founded for girls.
You have to know the history of women and their accomplishments and the capacity for you to succeed. And that's why history motivates. History compels you to want to do more with your life.
The importance of mentorship and proper guidance of girls, stakeholders say, will contribute to their formation into becoming responsible women of substance in future.
The adults are already set in their ways. So for the younger ones, I think this is the time to get their attention and start building them up to be the next role models.
Trying to introduce them to more like a systematic way of thinking to say that they can solve problems and also become whatever they set out their minds to achieve.
They called for the collaborative efforts towards preserving the legacies of women long gone, whose lives changed society for good. In Lagos, Amaka O, NTA News.
All right, let's pause for a break. Panorama will be back after this timeout. Don't go away.
Our major currency unit is the Naira, while the minor unit is the Kobo. They are both in notes and coins. The Naira is more than just a medium of exchange. It bears the images of our heroes. So, stop abusing the Naira. It is a criminal offense to spray the Naira at events. Stop stepping on the Naira. It's not your enemy. Do not squeeze, ruffle, or write on the Naira. Handling the Naira with dirty or oily hands can deface the Naira. Love the Naira as you love yourself. Be a real Nigerian. Do not abuse the Naira.
The federal government of Nigeria wants vandals of national assets, electricity transmission towers, cables, and other facilities to desist from this act of sabotage. Vandalism is a serious crime, punishable under the law. Vandalizing electrical equipment will affect millions of Nigerians, including your loved ones. Remember that national assets belong to all of us, hence the need to protect them. Report all cases of suspicious movement around electrical facilities to security agencies. When you see something, say something. This message is from the Federal Ministry of Information and National Orientation in collaboration with the National Counter-Terrorism Center, NCTC, Office of the National Security Advisor.
Good to know you're still there. A multifaceted approach which combines stricter laws, technology monitoring, and community engagement is required to mitigate the ugly act of vandalism in Nigeria. This is the outcome of various engagements correspondent Larry Belei had with some Nigerians.
Vandalizing public assets, some believe, is driven majorly by wrong perception that public infrastructures do not benefit local communities, as well as economic desperation, political grievances, among others. It is also fueled by a combination of high youth unemployment and poverty.
You see, some of the road architecture are being stolen by people. So it is our duty to, educate ourselves. Government can do the much they can do, but it's our duty to protect what they're doing. The country belongs to all of us.
We've also seen such situation. It's not just here, where when the railway construction was going on and people go and steal some roads, I only have to urge them to know the implication. If you are caught, you have to go to jail for that, because it's pure economic sabotage.
For many Nigerians, surveillance and technology, that is, installation of CCTV cameras, motion detectors and alarm systems, help monitor vulnerable areas.
We have met with the community to ensure that they own this project, and we want to send a note of warning to people who want to go out of their way to still want to make any incursion of vandalism on this road, to know that we are ready for them.
Other strategies of mitigating vandalism include encouraging communities to take ownership of local infrastructure, educating citizens on the impact of vandalism through school programs and media campaigns, and establishing local security groups to monitor infrastructure in their areas. In Lagos, Larry Bileyi, NTA News.
Poor policy implementation, inadequate urban planning, rising population, and the increasing cost of building materials have been identified as major factors fueling Nigeria's housing crisis. Stakeholders say addressing the growing housing deficit will require stronger government collaboration with the private sector and policies that make affordable housing accessible to ordinary Nigerians. Bolaji Akim completes the report.
Housing remains one of the basic needs of every citizen, yet millions of Nigerians still lack access to decent and affordable shelter. Recent figures from the National Housing Data Technical Committee shows that Nigeria's housing deficit is estimated at nearly 15 million units, while more than 15 million housing units suffer structural inadequacies. Experts say the situation has contributed significantly to the growing number of slums and informal settlements in major cities and urban centers across the country.
In the absence of production of houses, in the absence of low construction finance rates, in the absence of willing developers to collaborate with government, what would typically happen is the development of slums, which is ungoverned and unstructured development environment.
In the last 3 or 4 years, there has been more than 100% increase in the rental value of properties around Lagos State generally.
Go to anywhere, even go to Ikorodu, go to Mowe, go to Surulere, the rate of house rent is too exorbitant.
Over the years, successive administrations have introduced several housing schemes aimed at reducing the deficits. However, poor planning, inconsistent policies, inadequate funding, and weak implementation have continued to hinder meaningful progress in the sector. Determined to change the narrative, the present administration, under the Renewed Hope agenda, is introducing new mechanisms and partnerships to boost affordable housing delivery and reduce the growing deficit nationwide.
You also have the estates program, which is how do we construct 250 to 500 houses in all the 36 states of the Federation. The government has started with 14 of those states.
As the present administration continues to collaborate with the private sector, experts believe that the country will gradually overcome the housing challenges it is facing. In Lagos, Bolaji Akim, NTA News.
And now to education. The Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, in collaboration with heads of tertiary institutions and other stakeholders, has pegged the minimum admissible cutoff scores for admission into Nigeria's higher institutions at 150 for universities, 150 for College of Nursing, and 100 for polytechnics. The decision was taken during the 2026 JAMB policy meeting in Abuja. Olainka Ojo tells us more.
Time of the year again, when anxious candidates wait patiently to know what becomes of them after sitting for the 2026 Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination, UTME.
The minimum score
is 150.
150 to be admitted to any other universities, both public and private.
Addressing heads of tertiary institutions, the Minister of Education, Dr. Tunji Alausa, warns against admitting candidates outside the Central Admissions Processing System (CAPS), declaring such admission illegal.
Any institution found to have conducted admissions outside the centralized admission processes will be held accountable, and appropriate sanctions shall be applied without hesitation.
It reflects our shared commitment to building an admission system that is merit-driven, inclusive, credible, and responsive to national development goals.
He also notes that candidates with 4 credits can now gain admission into colleges of education, but must register with JAMB. While 16 years remains the minimum age for admission, the Registrar of JAMB, Professor Isha Koloide, assured that the board will continue to nip all forms of malpractice in the board.
Because you are the gatekeeper, if you do anything, you will go to jail for it, even if your vice chancellor asks you to do it. So anything that you do not recommend to the VC, he cannot approve.
And lessons learned from JAMB will greatly assist Sierra Leone in streamlining admissions processes across both higher education and technical and vocational education and training institutions.
Some staff were honored for their bravery, dedication, and innovation in the discharge of their duties, as well as institutions that adhere strictly to JAMB's admission guidelines. Olayinka Ojo, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps, NSCDC, says it has arrested 2 suspected vandals and recovered stolen railway sleepers along the Bauchi-Kano road. NSCDC spokesperson Afolabi Babawale says the Commandant General's Special Intelligence Squad intercepted a Peugeot Boxer vehicle conveying the suspected vandalized materials and arrested Alzuma Yakubu and Ismail Mohammed. He says the operation followed the directive of the Commandant General, Professor Ahmed Abubakar Audi, to tackle the vandalism of railway infrastructure in Bauchi State. The Corps adds that investigations are ongoing to uncover other members of the syndicate and recover more stolen items. And Olumide Eguntola is standing by for sports update.
Hostilities begin today in Accra, Ghana at the 2026 Senior Athletics Championship, where Team Nigeria will be vying for honors in different events. Team Nigeria's delegation consists of 17 male and 24 female athletes and will compete across 26 track and field events as the country seeks to maintain its upward trajectory in African athletics. Meanwhile, the National Sports Commission commended the efforts of the Athletics Federation of Nigeria in preparing Team Nigeria for the championship, which also helped Team Nigeria to qualify for 4 different events at the global stage at the recent World Relays in Botswana. In female football, the Super Falcons of Nigeria will no longer proceed with their planned training tour to the United Kingdom after Jamaica withdrew from the proposed international friendly match. The match was supposed to be part of Falcons' preparations towards the 2026 Nations Cup in Morocco, which also serves as qualifiers for the 2027 FIFA Women's World Cup. And from the English Premier League, Manchester City will on Wednesday have another opportunity to close the gap behind Arsenal when the team takes on Crystal Palace in a midweek encounter. And win for Manchester City will see the team earning 77 points, 2 points behind league leaders Arsenal. In tennis, world number 1 Yannick Sinner breezed into the last 16 of the Italian Open when he defeated Alexis Poprin in straight set 6-2, 6-0 to continue his bid for our first title in Rome. His next match is against compatriot Andrei Pellegrino. Coco Gauff survived scare against Ivayovic coming from a match point to win 5-7, 7-5, 6-2 to qualify for the women's quarterfinals. With sports update, Olumide Eguntola, NTA News.
And that concludes Panorama from the Lagos Network Center of the NTA. Thanks for watching. I'm Awal Yusuf Jibo.
Wow, look at that. Until recently, I had no idea what a pangolin was. But this thing is strong. It's a small mammal covered with scales made of keratin, just like our nails. Strong scales, man. The scales has no medicinal value, yet the demand for the scales and the meat is driving the pangolins to extinction. This one's name is Igai, and it was rescued from illegal bushmeat trade. It's going back into the wild where it belongs to keep the ant population in check. Home sweet home. Please say no to illegal bushmeat and report wildlife crime, because poaching steals from us all.
Commander, what's going on here? Why do you have your things scattered all over the place? Your slippers on my bed? How much would I give you for a night?
Are you mad?
Esther, you know they fully lock your door. Okay!
You are a thief.
Mother
Now that Victoria friend will get big front and back. So I said, look, they go. I just
the remaining 2 minutes, not for you.
I'm throwing you money. Calm down. You should have thought about that before going to buy a phone that you cannot afford.
I will bite you if I'm not giving me my money, be likeness. But this is okay.
I like the way you say Vicky. I even like the way you do Vicky. I do it again. Vicky.
Face is another way of life for this country.
The mosaic. So piece together your time wisely.
This is the network service of the NTA.
A growing environmental crisis, one that is no longer distant, but immediate and visible to everyday life, from the rapid loss of forests across communities to rising air and water pollution in urban centers. The signs are clear. On Environment Matters this week, we will be drawing attention of the National Assembly to the urgent need for the quick passage of the Environmental, Social and Health Impact Assessment Bill into law. And now for many that believe the proposed legislation is critical to addressing the growing environmental challenges facing Nigeria. I am Charles Alpha, welcoming you to this week's edition of Environment Matters. Across the country, deforestation continues at an alarming rate, driven by logging, agricultural expansion, and fuel woods dependence. This not only threatens biodiversity, but also weakens natural protection against climate extremes. In coastal and riverine areas, erosion and flooding are becoming more frequent, displacing families and destroying homes. In cities, rapid urbanization without proper planning has led to mounting waste, inadequate sanitation, and overstretched infrastructure. But all these are not just environmental concerns. They are human and public health issues.
Communities in Nigeria are experiencing different environmental health issues. And you cannot talk about health without first mentioning food. So our food production is compromised as a result of climate change impact, drought, and all these issues impact our food. Without good food, you cannot have good health. And you see, the G7, just few days ago, last week, at their meeting in France, identified land degradation and desertification as a global security threat. So clearly tells you that land degradation is a big issue, and Nigeria as a country and many communities are experiencing land degradation. As a matter of fact, when we talk of land degradation, our minds go to the north, the frontline states. But it's even deeper, even around the north central. Deep, you have issues of soil erosion, gully erosion, and soil infertility.
We believe in peaceful coexistence with each other and with our environment.
We believe that it is wrong to destroy our biodiversity, which is God's gift to us.
We all depend on the beautiful animals and plants that keep our planet alive. And it is morally wrong to drive our wildlife to extinction or destroy protected forest.
So please help protect our health and our environment.
Report wildlife crime
and say no to illegal bushmeat. Keep them wide
and keep us safe.
And keep us safe.
The air people breathe, the water they drink, and the environment they live are increasingly compromised. Cases of respiratory illnesses linked to poor air quality are on the rise. Waterborne diseases continue to affect vulnerable populations, especially children. Not to talk about improper waste disposal, which exposes communities to toxic substances and poorly regulated industrial activities, introducing harmful pollutants into the environment.
Pollution constitutes effects on all forms of life, from biodiversity to human health, to public health, to environment, to marine, to oceans, to everything you can think of, even to agriculture. Recent research have shown that in terms of human health, some chemicals made in plastics used to make plastics like phthalates and dysphyllon A have an implication on reproduction. That is to say, plastics can affect how we give birth, or they can cause deficiency in the children we give birth to.
Data clearly shows that air pollution, kills a lot of young children. If you take a look at the number of generators we have in Nigeria, over 2 million generators. The emissions from those generators, where do they go? They are within the environment, and people inhale them, and this results in respiratory illnesses, which also compromise the health of people, especially children. Waste disposal is another big issue that is also compromising the health of our people. You pass around major waste dump and you perceive the very strong odor. It is not good for one's health, and unfortunately, a lot of our waste disposal facilities, I would say, a lot of them are within urban areas, and then those communities are impacted, not just by the smell, but water pollution itself, because once there is runoff, all of those toxins are washed into the waters. The communities, even within Abuja here, we still have communities that depend on streams and rivers for their water. And then you look at the groundwater pollution. Yes, a lot of people depend on boreholes, right? But then, when this waste accumulates in places over time, it seeps into the groundwater, especially electronic waste. It's important to still emphasize the issue of air pollution, because a lot of times what our people do is just to burn this waste. And our waste is not segregated, so it's a mixture of both organic waste, electronic waste that are highly carcinogenic, and all of that. You flay it into the air, and people just breathe in this. And the question I keep asking myself, what happens to all the medical waste we have within the country? Because some of them contain, human tissues and all. You go to places, you see needles and syringes, in the open. So you are compromising the health of the nation.
Despite existing laws and policies aimed at protecting the environment, significant gaps remain. Enforcement, experts say, is often weak. And in many cases, environmental impact assessments are treated as routine formalities rather than critical safeguards.
Yes, we have many environmental laws. Unfortunately, the enforcement have been a very big issue. Nearly every state in this country have the State Environmental Protection Agency or the State Waste Management Agency, Ministry of Environment. Even at the national level, we have, the Ministry of Environment, we have NESRA, and all these other agencies. But what does it take to get an EIA, Environmental Impact Assessment, in this country? The process is as good as nothing. It's like a paper process where you just meet some, in quotes, consultants that already have a template that they just fill and submit. People don't get to participate in this process, and that's why anyone can establish any factory anywhere, and then you see the discharge of affluents into community streams, into the community